The 9 a.m. podcast. Is it recording? It's the earliest podcast I've ever done. Everybody,
Me too.
We are
This
taking
is the
it.
earliest that we've done.
We are taking it.
We gotta move. We gotta move.
We are taking it serious.
All right. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua. And today we're going to be interviewing Marquan Jones for the second time. But
Jones is back.
He's back. And then mostly, though, Julie Schaeffer. Julie is a member at our Roseland location who recently qualified for the Masters CrossFit Games. And so that's pretty freaking cool. So I wanted to take some time to talk to her about her experience, talk to Marquan about what the experience was like being at the games from the coaching side, and just kind of dive into, what her training experience has been like prepping for the games. So Julie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? What exactly do you do here?
I'm originally from Wisconsin. I grew up there. I grew up in a small town and went to school in Illinois. And I went into the Marine Corps. Spent 20, 30 years in the Marine Corps, bouncing around back and forth. I moved a lot for my husband's job too. And then just retired in 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
What brought you here again? I don't
My
remember.
husband's job.
Okay.
He works out in Newark and for Prudential.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
potential is there. Yeah.
Wisconsin, eh?
Where in Wisconsin?
So Door County.
Not that I know anything
Yeah.
about Wisconsin.
Well,
I,
you know,
I don't know.
okay.
Good question.
Chance.
I know of
Packers,
Green Bay. Yeah.
So it's I live in like Wisconsin's shaped like a glove, kind of like Michigan, but I live up on this little peninsula,
Okay.
and that's where we
okay.
plan to retire to.
Gotcha.
Oh man. How
Yeah.
planning to retire? How much longer does your husband have?
Who knows?
They can stop at any
It's
point.
always 3 to 5 years. So
Rob gets after it.
yeah,
Pretty
he
good.
does.
Yeah.
He's enjoyed what he's doing.
Okay. What? Obviously, you qualified for the games this year, but what even got you into CrossFit? What brought you into the space?
We lived in Wisconsin, and this was back in 2009.
Okay.
I think. And it was one of those. Actually worked at a place that was called Core. I think it was called Core Fitness or something. It was all about the whole movement of, the whole make sure you do your core, your micro muscles, and gauging everything as you're going along. And we just started looking for another gym, and we came across Madtown CrossFit. And so we went, and I don't know, I just loved it from the start, just because it was something new every day. And it was the old school kind where you didn't know what the workout was until you showed up that day.
Right.
And you did the workout. Had never really touched a barbell before and lifted it. So it was
This was when about what year?
2009.
2009 stuff. Okay.
So it was pretty young.
Gee,
Yeah.
yes.
It was
Oh,
pretty-
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
We were all in college. 3 months.
just getting started. I'm like, what is football?
Yeah, Joe, I didn't know that about you. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that you started CrossFit so long ago.
Yeah.
And also, like, you're a Marine, so like it's
Yeah.
very similar.
Yeah.
So,
I think since 2009 when I started, and then in the Marine Corps we have physical fitness tests that you have to do. You use it's like it's a run, pull-ups, and sit-ups, which is that thing. But then they changed it and they added also a combat fitness test, which is the one that did you do it at the games?
oh, yeah, I
The
think
year
so.
that
We
they
had to carry a
sponsored you
body.
carry the body, the armored,
Yes.
you have to ammo cans and everything else. And when I did that test, then it was like a breeze because it was all
For somebody
functional
else.
fitness.
Right.
It's like picking something up and putting it up.
Yeah.
Putting it back down, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a breeze.
So, but yeah, it was
like,
Okay. Which age division did you compete in this year?
55 to 59.
55 to 59.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So how long? So you got started in CrossFit in 2009. When did you get competitive?
It probably wasn't until I think when I was in like 2017, maybe. Because before that, I remember even thinking I could barely lift the bar. You can't do RX until you can do RX anything. You can. At that point, I probably was only 45,
Give or
50
take.
barely. Yeah. So I mean, you're still in the pretty
Yeah.
competitive age
Yeah.
groups, and it wasn't even that big. I didn't even think about qualifying anything with the games. It was more local competitions.
Okay.
And I did a few of them, and I did okay,
Mhm.
and they were fun. And because I've always liked to go out.
So you were
and
doing
do
regular
it.
RX or scaled at that point because most of these competitions didn't have a masters.
Masters, right? So they were just
Yeah, it was very rare.
It was
one or
they
the other.
were, and that's why like sometimes it was like okay, yeah, you get two reps kind of.
Right.
But yeah,
When did
but-
you join CrossFit Roseland?
2 years ago? 3
yeah,
years ago?
22.
22?
I can't remember when
Okay.
we moved here.
Yeah. So you got competitive around, you said what, like 2017?
I think so.
And then you moved to Roseland, or I'm sorry, you moved.
Yeah, she lives in the gym.
Yeah. But you moved here and started working out there in
Actually,
about.
it was earlier than that. Because from before.
It had
I
to be
did, like-
21 or
Right,
because
but
you
I'm
were-
just saying, when I started, like my first time I got competitive, I went to I was just came up on my like some memories or something. I went to a competition in Phoenix. That's where we lived.
Yeah.
And then from Phoenix, we moved to San Antonio before we moved
Oh
here.
my gosh. Okay.
So in San Antonio is where I kind of more got
Yeah.
into it. I had a good coach, and I did the fitness experience.
Oh yeah. the
Yeah.
one side.
So and I ended up winning that one, and it was just like,
That's cool.
So that's 2020, right?
yeah,
A little bit before.
maybe it was
Had to be 19.
it'd be 19 because then I went
We
to
did that.
Germany for a year.
2020 is COVID year.
Yeah.
And then 21.
Yeah, so then I kind of came back. I was like, you know what? Maybe because I did the qualifier going, let's see what happens. And
Yeah.
you know,
And you ended up
yeah, I was
qualifying
like,
for
holy cow!
Olympics.
Actually, I can make because they had a master's,
They did.
kind of a true master's.
Yeah. So it's interesting how like, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you were like got competitive, and it's like, okay, I'm doing okay, but like kind of Joe said, at the local scene, you didn't really see
Yeah, you
masters
don't.
competitions or masters divisions, and then as the sport grew, because you started in 2009, and they really started to chunk down the masters, it was almost like you got better as an athlete at the same time they started to get more dialed in from a master's perspective. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a perfect storm where it's like, okay, I'm personally better as an athlete, but I'm also now, because they've tiered out the master's divisions more effectively, I'm more competing against my peers as
Yeah.
well. And so that kind of was like, it sounded like that really helped you
It did,
kind of grow
yeah.
in the sport.
Yeah.
So let's segue into the games. So now you're super competitive. You're so competitive and so good at this that you qualify for the CrossFit Games. So what was that whole experience, the qualification experience like, and then obviously the experience like at the event itself?
Well, the qualification is probably where you put the most effort into, and the training, the commitment, the dedication that goes into it. I know. So I got here in what we say 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I went through and I was like, hey, I really want to make it to the games. I think I made it to the semifinals that year. I mean, I can't
You're
remember.
the first year you made
Yeah.
semis, right?
And
Yeah.
I just, weights hit me or something. Just, one thing about CrossFit, it depends on the workouts
Yeah.
too. A lot of times if I can usually, if you can have one bad one, you can usually throw away and recover from it. You get 2 bad workouts and you're
You're done,
basically
you're
done.
Yeah.
So I missed it, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Just was like, okay, I really want to make it. And I think I got some really good, training partners and some coaches, and, just was like, okay. And you have to put in the dedication.
Mhm.
So I finally made it. I was, I don't know.
I mean, it was inevitable, honestly.
I don't know. It was,
like you've been working for 2 years essentially. Like people typically don't make it, and there's 2 roads you can take. You can quit, maybe say it's not for you, blah blah blah. But if you keep pushing, you build it on top of the fitness that you gain
Yeah.
that whole year. And most people fail to realize that. And the second year, people typically fall off, not knowing that they have a solid foundation to go into the next year to build, to get better. And Julie just stuck with it, and
yeah.
qualified
And you
for
learn from
games.
your mistake. You learn,
Yeah.
okay, where were my weaknesses, my big ones, and let's tackle and work on those.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. And I mean, I'll let you finish, but it does speak to the work ethic. Like, I pop into Roseland every so often, and I said to Quan once, I was like, I feel like I always see Julie working on muscle ups.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, she works on them a lot, but then I forget what workout it was.
It was
It
a
was-
semis.
It was the
It
semis.
30 ring
muscle
muscle
ups.
ups.
Yeah.
It was 30,
And
yeah.
she did all 30
And I probably,
and missed 1 out of the 30.
And
And then the day before that, it was
I
like,
think I totally did probably a total of 9 or 10 in my life.
Yeah.
That I made.
that was the wildest performance I've
Yeah.
ever
I
seen.
said to you,
And I was like,
how did that happen?
I don't know.
Clicked.
I'm judging her, and I'm just like, we get to 15. I look at the top. I looked at the clock. I'm looking around at everybody else. I'm like, she's about to finish it. I'm like, try not to get too excited. I'm like, all right, just stay true to your form. Stay
Yeah,
true to
yeah.
your technique. Don't get. She just stayed locked in and kept going. And I was just like, we finished a muscle up workout,
Yeah.
and we haven't been hitting muscle ups at all. And it's still like one of those
still,
things that
like
we're still
yesterday.
working.
I know.
So-
But what's cool is like, I feel like with gymnastics especially, it's really easy for people to quit because like with weightlifting, if you get a 2.5 pound PR.
Right.
It's like, okay, you can see increments.
Of course.
But like with gymnastics, it's like you're doing the same drills
Oh,
week after
exactly,
week after
exactly.
week. And then sometimes you hit them, sometimes
And
you
most of the time you don't test them really. It's not like it's
Right.
like, all right, go for a max set and then go for like it's typically
Yeah,
not
it's
written
not-
that way.
Right.
It's like especially in the female athletes,
Right. Yeah.
what I've always noticed is that okay, they get one and then it's like, okay, great. Now they can do one over and over and over again.
Right.
But a lot of times they don't test themselves. So like start doing so if you have 5 like ring muscle ups to do, they're not saying to their head like, okay, I'm gonna make myself try to do 3 and then 2.
Right.
Right.
Right? Because we know this from a competitive scenario.
Yeah.
If you remove one set, you're removing, let's just say hypothetically, 30 seconds out to move it to the next phase of whatever the workout
Yeah.
is. So a lot of the times I feel like that's like the biggest struggle.
Right.
Because you don't gauge your ability and then you do something like that in a qualifier, you're like, okay, great, I'm hitting these feel good. And then you have this massive PR in the amount of reps.
Right.
And then you never hit it again.
That's a fine line too.
Yeah.
Working within your means as well. Like,
Because you don't fail reps.
correct.
Yeah.
You don't fail
Exactly.
reps.
You learn.
And would that 5 seconds keep you more efficient over the duration of a
Mhm.
workout, or would that 5 seconds of rest, keep you moving throughout the duration of the
Mhm.
workout?
Yeah.
So for that workout, we did all singles, and it was paired with what, front squats, right?
Yeah.
Did the weight go up on the front squats?
No.
I think the weight was the same, and the weight was not an issue. The front squats were like boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, and then every time she did a muscle up, it was just like one came down, shook it out, step back on the box, 2 came down, shook
Julie's
it
a
out. It
really
was just
tall
like
athlete.
Yeah, super tall.
Yeah.
So she
it was like crazy. We were just literally in the rotation of just like a machine is just
Yeah.
the pistons were firing, and she kept the pistons the same. They were just boom, boom, boom the whole time, and that was an impressive workout. I think
I friggin' love
all of
that.
us were like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah.
I
Wait,
think
that's what I'm
Casey
saying
was
is,
about to
like-
cry. She was like, she couldn't believe it. No, I couldn't either.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if I wouldn't have been able to get the muscle ups like I hadn't been,
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I would have made semis.
Right.
I wouldn't have made the games, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
depends on.
100%. So Julie, can you give us your overall experience of the games?
It was a pretty decent experience. It was awesome. I mean, you're there. It has a good vibe. All these, and sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I do well, and then you go there, and there's so many good athletes,
Yeah.
older athletes, and they're just crushing it. And so it's, but everybody's nice. I mean, and it's just they're all just fun to be around. I've competed with some of them before in the past. Never usually as the group. Then now, of course, the games is everybody who's
Yeah, because you get
goes there.
like Wadapalooza, you get
Yeah,
like
you
some
get
of
one,
them,
and you get someone else.
now you're
here.
getting international athletes and everything
Yeah.
else. This is actually, and this was the first year with the new format,
Correct.
Yeah.
to where they took the Masters out of the actual games, and then they made it was the Legends competition
Yep.
in Georgia, right?
And they took more.
Oh,
athletes
in
as
Alabama.
well.
Yeah.
So it was actually, I was happy they did that because they took more athletes in every age division because there was 40,
30.
30.
30.
30.
30
they
in
took-
my age group.
So they took 30 in her age group, and I think they took 40 in the younger
Lower.
ones,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because remember, like, Dex was in 35, 39.
He
There
was.
was 40 people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this format now to where you're inclusive of more people to qualify. And then really the games was always like, it kind of sucked because like the Masters was kind of like, oh, this whatever. They're over here in the corner.
Yeah.
So I was happy they made the whole competition around that.
And about the Masters.
And made it about Masters. And they had all the divisions, 35 to 39 plus all the way through. So it was nice to kind of see the flow of the change and the focus because the whole competition was designed and the weights were reflected Masters only and not,
Yeah.
Still think they got to dial in those. But
Dollar just a little bit. And it was
you think weight wise, you think some of
it
the
was
stuff stood out?
one it
Yeah.
was just one workout that was a little heavy, and you could just see it
Overall? Was
overall.
the snatch one?
That was it clean?
The
The
clean.
clean.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
most athletes, I mean, nobody finished that workout.
then I didn't.
I mean, it was like 1 or 2 maybe.
Really? I was gonna say some of the. I mean,
Maybe
if I
we-
could have cleaned it,
was
I
a
could have.
lighter?
No, it was just toes to bar. Actually, we did this.
Yeah, toes of bar.
Hey, fun fact. Let me go back to this too.
Okay.
Everybody at Station Athletics is watching this, and I'm looking at the camera. These workouts that I'm programming for these 6 weeks, most of them are the Masters Games
Oh.
workouts.
Because people yesterday were hating you. They're like,
Everybody's
Perfect.
so upset, but I'm like, hey, if Julie Schaeffer can do these workouts, granted, yeah, she's a master, whatever, and the cream of the crop, but you could do
Scale
them
it.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
could do it too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, and all in the weight
didn't know
terms,
that.
exact same, except a couple weeks ago we did that 75 wall balls,
Yes.
the dumbbell,
shit
the
hurt.
dumbbell step overs, the dumbbell
I
snatch,
think I did that one year, didn't I?
the 75 wall balls,
I
Actually-
actually myself.
and it was like a
Oh.
18-minute time cap. I actually took out a whole movement,
Yes.
dumbbell
you
shoulder
told me that.
overhead. I
Oh, you
took
did?
those
You took that
out,
out?
and and people were just Julie finished it. She did sets of 3s on the wall balls. So if you upset,
Dude, I said wall balls. Julie, I was
I did
I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a big set. I did 5, and I'm like, oh.
she did sets of 3s for the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
So back to the regular schedule program. I'm sorry. Most of these workouts are the Masters CrossFit Games workouts, and they are. I definitely think they were really, really
I
reasonable for a class workout.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about
Yeah.
the programming, except like I said, that one workout, like not many people finished that clean. When the clean was just a little too heavy to where if they would have dropped it to 135 maybe, it still would have been a challenging weight load for most of the Masters athletes at your division. But they would have saw a better representation of strength, because at that point it was like most people were hitting 1 rep max. They also could have flipped a couple of events around. Probably did that 1 rep max front squat first to give the ladies some more confidence. And I know it's the games and you want to.
The problem though is when you know that this is something I always disagree with what they do. When they do strength workouts, they did this at when was it? When we went to Vegas, they did this. When we were at semis. They put the strength, this clean and jerk after like a hard workout.
Yeah.
And like you want to see performance because that's what it is.
That's what you
like,
want.
all right,
Yeah.
and I get it, it's CrossFit, and it's like you want to under fatigue and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to see like top notch performance on strength stuff, you got to put it first.
Yeah. Or relatively first. Like you can start off with a monostructural piece to where it's just, let's do some rowing, biking, skiing. And you can score that as an event, because at the end of the day, these are supposed to be tests, and it's not supposed to be designed to destroy.
Of
like
course.
These are tests. Like I'm not, and I think that's what CrossFit is.
Enough
blurring
rest in between to be able to do, like there's all those components
to where you could just do your strength and stuff, or not even strength. You could do it relatively first, to where you say, all right, I'm doing gymnastics, and then maybe I'll do this monostructure piece, and then we'll test the strength. That's a solid way to go about it. You don't have to be exactly first to where people you want to. I mean, if you want to see people lift crazier, like a little bit heavier, maybe, but yeah.
So some of the weights could have been changed, but the vibe I kind of got was like it was a good experience. People were everyone was happy to be there. The competition was stiff.
It was well run, well organized.
Yeah.
Did you feel at the event kind of like what Joe said, that it was like, I don't know, that did you feel like the center of attention, basically, like we are the athletes as opposed to like an afterthought? Like,
well, I haven't been to the open or the games when it had both, so I don't know. All I can compare it to is when I go to I've done Legends before, which basically this is almost just like a glorified Legends. I mean, it was basically Legends, but it did have all the games athletes.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go to regular Legends, they invite some games. I think last year there was 4 or 5 games athletes there, but not all of them.
Right.
Wanted to do that. I would say like in Wadapalooza, I've been there, and they have the elite athletes there, and we do see probably more of a sideshow.
Sure.
But it's still fun.
Yeah.
And you get to see and watch them. So that's one of the things is I think that got taken away when we didn't get to go with them, is that we get the vibe of being there with the elites. But I guess it doesn't matter.
So you finished 15th?
Overall 16th.
16th. So you're the 16th fittest woman in the world, 55 and 59. So that's pretty wild.
Pretty wild.
What was your biggest takeaway from the event?
The biggest takeaway from the event, okay? I don't know. It was a fun event. I guess for me, I placed higher than I thought I was going to. When we talked about it before that, when we saw the workouts came out, there was a lot of heavy weights and heavy lifting. There was a snatch workout. Both like the last 2 weights are above my body weight. The third one is like my PR. So I would have had to hit my PR. Talked about the clean as it would have been a PR if I would have got it.
Right.
And then a front squat. Again, it's not based on body weight. So I was the smallest person coming in there, or the lightest person coming in there, and I go back and forth. You look the winner. She did 139% of her body weight for her front squat. I did 150% of my body weight.
I think she ended up in what, 215?
Yeah, 230, 225.
Oh, excuse me.
And then you have like Tracy McGee, who weighs 110, and she got 200. So she did 182% of her body weight.
Yeah.
But she placed. She didn't even place.
No,
she'd be in the.
She's in her age group.
Yeah. So again, it's like, so are you?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's so gone.
Back to what you were saying earlier, though, like, and this is where I thought the programming was a little shifted. I mean, we did almost everything that was like gymnastics. It was CrossFit, classic CrossFit stuff, and then we did almost all of the strength stuff literally on one day.
Yeah, all
this-
the
It was like heavy for like the CNS probably would have been cooked for body. And then you actually did a heavy deadlift workout
Yep,
the day before. And then we did a lot of rope climbs, a lot of
So your systems are all
jacked up. And then on the third or fourth day, you had to go to
All squats.
heavy squat clean, a heavy snatch, a heavy front squat, and it was like all on the end
Same
of
day.
the back end, all on the same day and on the back end of the competition.
Yeah.
So it was just like, all right, yeah. Now if you would have threw that front squat in earlier in the week, or in the competition, maybe you would have hit 5 to 10 more pounds more. Wouldn't have won the event, but maybe you would have hit 5 to 10 pounds more. Wouldn't have put you at almost last place, but probably would have put you in the bottom, like, fifth or sixth. Those are points that you can take, because literally they did a cut on Sunday. I know I don't want to take it, but they did a cut on Sunday to 15.
Oh.
Julie was in 16th by what?
So you
1
would've-
point.
By 1 point. So like if you just structured it a little bit different,
Yeah.
where all the strength isn't done on one day.
Well,
She
because
literally
you
went from,
take
like,
all those
second
athletes and you
place,
just
third
boot them.
place. Yeah, and
you
then
take
you
that
just
athlete
like
and boot them.
drop
And
that
then-
where you can mix it in a little bit to
Yeah.
And then
So-
the workout that was on Sunday
Yeah.
had the bar muscle ups and
Yes,
some other stuff.
It,
I'm like,
it probably would have been one of your better
Yeah.
workouts.
so if they would
Yeah.
have taken and just switched 2 of them,
Well, that
High
was kind of
volume.
what I said to you was again, if you just look at the competition as a whole and just say like, all right, it is what it is. These are the workouts, right? My main thing was like, I thought the order of them didn't make a ton
Right.
of sense, because it was like, you said, it was like, I literally said to you, I was like, come on, they literally put the heavy barbells all back-to-back workouts.
to back.
And I was like, he was like, I know, it's so weird, because at the regular CrossFit games, obviously it's way more workouts, but they'll usually stagger some of the heavier barbells or heavier
They
movements.
typically always do a good job of taking system-based movements that, okay, this is mono,
right.
this is, okay, with longer workout, shorter workout,
Right.
this is going to
Gymnastics.
stimulate, right?
Yep.
This.
Volume.
So I guess my next question was going to be, do you feel like the programming overall, they should have taken into consideration more stats to be able to kind of place them in a better spot?
I think so. And that's why I was saying I think they still have to dial in on some of
Gotcha.
the
So what you
weights
mean by that?
and the movements. I mean, when the program first came out and they said these are the workouts, if you looked at them without knowing the weights, I was like, these are actually decent
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah.
Other than I don't like the
Yeah.
front squat and the snatch, but it's normal stuff that's going to be programmed. And I was like, oh, that's good. But then the order, like you said, and then when the weights finally came out for the masters, I was like, wow. And even being there, all the chatter through a lot of the older, especially the older ones, the 55 and above, it's just like they haven't quite dialed it in to know.
found like the scale.
Yeah, and it's like you could have for the clean in the qualifiers going up to it, you could probably found a clean somewhere of you even do a 1 rep max clean in your qualifiers, and then you can look at who qualified, and you can probably say, okay, this is the highest PR of everybody. So where should you set your bar? Because if they would have done that, they could have seen that probably some of us haven't even hit the 145 clean.
Right.
So we can't even compete
Or
in
even
that workout.
or
We
even
stopped.
like
We're
what
dead stop.
what the stimulus is. Like if they
Right.
wanted a certain percentage to be stopped by the barbell, it is what it is.
Right.
But at the same time, if they looked at it and said like, all right, we kind of want 80% of the field to be about here, and
Right.
Quan said a lot of the girls really struggled with the weight of the barbell, then it's like, all right, well, you just didn't look. Like maybe if you
No, that's
dropped
a
it
very basically
Yeah.
this
exactly, if you
example.
just drop it 10 to 20
Well-
pounds because you looked at the field and what they
So
did in
let's kinda-
qualifiers,
Yeah.
then yeah.
Let's sling it to this, right? So the way that I always look at CrossFit evolution from, let's go 2009 to last year.
Mhm.
Okay. It used to be who is the fittest, as in what we now refer to as classic CrossFit, right? And that was who's going to do box jumps and burpees and who's going to do thrusters at 95 pounds the fastest. Like that was what CrossFit was. Okay. It was an endurance piece with not a whole lot of strength. I mean, what was the strength workout? Grace,
Yeah,
Is-
yeah.
To an extent, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Isabel, right? Like
Yeah.
those were strength movements. So that's what it was. They didn't do. I don't even know when they introduced like max lifts. It wasn't very.
Yeah.
It was heavier, but there was always a lot of reps.
Yeah.
So then you fast forward and let's go into like the year like when you were at the games, right? So 2018.
2018.
Okay, 2018. Now they're doing max lifts, but like from a scenario of CrossFit shifted to who is the strongest fit person. So then you look at people like Fraser and you look at people, right? Like that whole group of people, like it kind of evolved from like Jason Khalipa, Rich Froning, and now you have all these guys that are
Strong.
stupid. I remember that you had Quan had to do a max back squat max no, it was you had 3 attempts and a max,
CrossFit total.
a CrossFit total. It was back squat, deadlift, and strict
press.
press, right? And the numbers that these guys are throwing out is like stupid. And Quan is a very strong athlete, but like comparative, you had guys pulling 550 for fun on deadlift, 600 pounds.
And then so, it was the third workout out of that
it was the very, very beginning. So then you look at so what I'm getting at is like the progression of what it was. So then that's what CrossFit is now. It's whoever the strongest fit person is
versus the fittest strongest.
Fittest strongest, right? So like it kind of all rotated to where it's like then that's why Matt was so successful, right? Matt was so successful because he came into CrossFit, he was snatching 315.
Right.
Okay. And people like me, it took me like 8 years to hit 225. Right. So it's like that's what I'm saying is like so from a progression, that's kind of what it moved to. You still had to be good at the other things, but you could gut out the scenario of okay, I can train my structure to be able to handle a 12 to 15 minute workout. Am I going to suffer on the 30-minute workouts? Yeah, absolutely. But they moved the scalable weight as in like I guess I would refer to as how they're going to score you to a strength dominant.
Yeah, everything got heavier.
Okay. And then they kind of come back a little bit to where like the strength is still really important. And now they have gymnastics. So what I'm getting to is well-rounded programming.
Yeah.
Okay. From even the CrossFit game level all the way down to the micro level of when Marquan programs a class, has to be sustainable for a scaled RX, CRX, and then a CRX master's level, just because we're talking about right. So from a point scenario, so let's take your experience, right? What I see the issue is, and agree with me or not, I want to hear your feedback on this, is they programmed things that were predominantly for somebody that was a stronger athlete. So just by definition, they're going to outperform you because, say, 3 of the 6 workouts, they're going to be in the top 5. Right? And from a staggered perspective, it wasn't staggered properly in a scenario of a balance. So the way that I look at it is, I was really happy with what they moved to and the format. I was very unhappy with how the balance of movements played into the workouts. Typically what you'll get is a very strength dominant and then a very gymnastics dominant. And then you'll get a few workouts that are intertwined and mixed, right? So where you are getting the fittest person. Right?
I would also argue on, because we broke it off, you can now kind of do totally different programming. Because before, when it was with the games, you also want to like, if the elites were doing this, the masters would do something similar.
Some sort of variation.
Well, and we've talked about this before, and whether, again, people could agree with me or disagree, but your 1 rep max as a master, especially as an older master, I don't do 1 rep maxes in the gym anymore.
Right.
I mean, why? So I can compare myself to 10 years ago and just be really down. I mean,
Just
because it's not. I mean, or if you do get a 1 rep max, it's going to maybe be even a pound over a year.
Right.
And you can work at it. But after you hit about 50,
well, you're fighting a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Your body will not create muscle as it did before.
Right.
Even if you take your diet into account, everything else. So again, so why as a master, especially a 50-year-old, why are you taking a 1 rep max? Because all you're doing then is saying who's held on to their muscle, but also at that point it does become who's a bigger person.
Yeah,
and we talk about this all the time. For me personally, I do think we still should share it just to have it, but it shouldn't be mean to all.
Yeah.
In terms of, all right, the 1 max front squat was good, and you got to play it fair to everybody else. But like we said, the snatch, because you had a snatch up to 125, 115, and then you also had to clean 145. It's like, all right, that turned now to strength events.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And if you're doing 8 events, because it was 8 or 9 events,
There were
scored events.
it was not 9.
9 events.
So a third.
No, 8. We had 8.
Okay,
that's
the
right.
younger
Everybody was
generations.
So
you're looking at like roughly 40% of your scores is a heavy barbell at that point.
Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like obviously you have some takeaways from your training and to gear you towards the next year. Quan, for you as a coach, what were your biggest takeaways from the event?
Okay, so my biggest takeaway, I was extremely excited with. At first, let me clarify this. Me and Julie have been training together for the past 1.5, 2 years.
Yeah.
And me and her had the same coach, and Dave was coaching her. Me and Dave was kind of coaching her at the games. And this year we just made the switch to our programming for her. So shout out to Dave for doing bulk of the work, the heaviest lifting. I I did see a lot of things that we can change throughout the programming, and it's simply because I'm training with her day in and day out. So I see some weaknesses. You know, like I said, Dave's great. He's phenomenal. He does a great job with everything. I still work with him. But I see a couple things that I feel like we could have fixed in terms of when to push and when not to push. So Julie obviously can crush anybody in a strength Metcon any day, no matter what it is. But we were like leading into the games, I don't think she was snatching or cleaning at all because we had some stuff we needed to work through with our knee. But I feel like that line we could have rode that line just a little bit. Okay, so instead of doing full range of motion back squats, let's go to box squats and keep that strength there. Instead of doing a 1 rep max snatch all the time or snatching heavy all the time, just keep the form and technique there. Keep it light, still move it, stay in a power position.
Yeah, saying
don't necessarily
70%.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to go heavy, but we still need to touch on some snatches. Still need to touch on some cleans.
If you're box squatting heavy, by what you're saying,
stimulus is still there.
Your CNS is still ready to lift something heavy
Correct.
versus like not having touched something heavy for 3-4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not an athlete who, like, for you, it's like you're not an athlete that like can take off of strength and just maintain it's like if I'm not touching something heavy, it's like forget about it.
It's really
and
heavy.
in terms we're talking too about a lot of lifts, but we got to think machine work as well. Because when we're getting on a ski, when we're getting on a bike erg, when we're getting on a rower, and you say, hey, let's do 12 calories a minute. For me, you, maybe even Brandon back there, that's easy for us.
Yeah.
But if I tell Julie, let's do 12 calories per minute on a rower, Julie gonna look at me like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're out of tune with those type things, so back to the biggest takeaway, we're gonna go to that again. But when you're not in tune with those things, the power output on machines will not be the same for masters.
Right.
No, never.
It was, and it's almost like.
So if you feel from a program perspective, it was kind of like
from a program
numbers
perspective,
were off.
Well, we had an echo bike workout, and not many people finished that workout either at the games.
And I actually did better than I thought I would.
And you did a lot better than we thought we would because the echo bike is just something.
And we had been working a little bit on the echo bike,
so
I knew about like what watts I wanted to hold, but I just thought that's not.
So in terms of modifying and scaling properly for your master athlete, not only with the barbell but with your machine work, that was something we could dive into. And we're doing a lot of testing now to where I'm saying, let's do a 30-minute EMOM. Tell me how many calories we're going to start off with 6 calories per machine, and then we'll progress throughout this over time. So maybe some of that power output will be able to come back, or you even get better at power output.
And like you said, I was going to go back to like you're with David. Like you said, he's awesome. He got me to a certain thing, but being there, knowing me too, is like when you push, okay, my knee's feeling good today, let's go.
Yeah.
Versus, but this is what he's got programmed, and he's. I could text him all I want. Whereas with him, I can be like, you know what, today I'm backing off. Today I'm going.
That's exactly.
Or he just looks over my shoulder on the echo bike and is like, you can go faster.
You can definitely go
Whereas
faster.
if I'm by myself, I'm like.
And then also knowing like some of the programming things that we were doing, it was okay. We see running now in the games. We were doing no running before leading up to the games. And then all of a sudden it was like, bang out 10 400s, rest 30 seconds in between. And it was just like,
shocks you.
That's going to shock you and blow your knee up.
Yeah.
And at that time that blew it up. And it was just like,
ease
into it kind of. But at the same time, we probably should have been doing that. Light 200-meter runs. You don't have to go crazy, proper stretching, so on and so forth, ice bath. So my biggest takeaway was we could work on strength and just ride that line, which was great. We can work on more machine work, and we could probably dial it back because I mean, some of these Metcons, you were crushing women by 2 to 3 minutes.
Chill out.
Like the rope climb workout, you beat every second place by like a minute and a half.
She thought she had a whole nother round. She was like, going to go again. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, and like I said, I was really impressed with that mentality of, all right, if we got an athlete, how much for a coach. How can I push this athlete to constantly continue to work? And obviously what you did leading into the games, Dave did a phenomenal job anyway because you placed well, but there's no really buts.
Well, plus now he knows the competition too. Like they always tell him beforehand, like they're women, they're like, no, you're good.
He didn't have a lot of masters.
He doesn't. And that was the thing.
The teenagers, I know.
Correct.
Him and Tim's focus was always like
the individuals.
Like individual.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was a growing
games athletes, not like your quality. Like
quality. That's why I said it was a growing process.
We would have the same workout, and it was just like the calories were scaled.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. The weight was scaled just a little bit, but it was just like still too much.
We went through a phase I kind of got burnt out almost, and I think that's probably when my knees started really blowing up. Because I'll push it.
Yeah.
I'll do
She'll
it.
definitely
That
push.
marine
Hey,
mentality.
it's coming back and like, okay, but what do I need to do?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
essentials?
Would you say being there with Juan or what about being at Roseland do you think helped you progress the way that you did? What would you like? What about the environment helped a lot?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, I was talking about like the first time I walked in when we moved here. I was looking for a gym, and you walk in, and it was Jesse was working
Yeah.
out by himself. But I was looking for a gym because I knew at that point I wanted to be a little bit more competitive because I'd gotten to the quarterfinals before
Okay.
moving here. But I was like, hey, I want to try to get to the semifinals. And when you walk in and then you see all the plaques, of you guys up there on there, I'm like, okay, so they at least have athletes that can compete, and they have the programming, that mentality. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I joined, and then just started working out with Quan. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, come join us. I had my coach back in San Antonio then was still kind of programming for
Yeah.
me. And so I just did the open gym so I could do the programming and started working out. He's like, join us, and then talk to him about going with Coach Dave
Mhm.
because what are my goals. But coming in all the time and having the caliber of athlete with Quan, and then there's also the other athletes that come in. It's just we push each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always we spoken about when we did our interview
Yeah.
with Marquan is something that was like, that's what's so great about that place is Marquan like has this weird fucking thing where like
Doesn't make
people
sense.
just like show up.
Bro, you
Every-
always have someone.
He always has someone to train, and it's good because now you have like a nice solid group of people
Yeah.
on a regular basis, and it's rotated over the
It
years
rotates,
It's
yeah.
definitely-
for sure. But
Some
But he's
people
the
hang
kind.
out.
He's the
Some people
consistent.
hang out for a year, and
and,
after a
then,
year,
and they're gone.
and I'm like, this is the perfect time to continue to build.
I'm
It's that
tired.
second year, it's like, I can't do this again.
well, you know
It's
what's like?
all right.
Let's kind of slingshot to that, right? So I wanted to talk about it before, but we went off subject a little bit. Is from an environment from that gym, and Marquan talked about it was like going from year 1 to year 2, right? So year 1 you made semis, right, and then didn't make the games, and then this past year you went all the way to the games, right? Because you continued to build on your fitness.
Mhm.
The biggest leaps and bounds that I've ever had, and I know for him too, is, let's use Quan as an example. In 2017, he missed the games by like 6 spots.
Yeah.
You were like 11th that year, I think.
I was going into day 3.
You were in
position.
Yeah.
he was in
I was
position.
in
And Quan's
position.
like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
And then I bombed the workout, and it kicked me to 11th place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get to what
Fifth to
11th it was,
11th,
right?
yeah.
So the next year, he literally came back and he just started again,
Yes.
right? He just started. And then going into it, we were like, all right, Quan's looking good. And then it was programmed well. He came in and he was in a good position the entire weekend, right? But it's like the focus point was like he trusted his training for years, knowing that like, all right, like, and we were all
Yeah, it's
there
gonna
that year,
it's gonna
right? We were all there. It was at regionals that
yeah.
year. So my point being is, it's like the environment there of like continuing for a long period of time, and like it proves the outcome.
And sometimes it's you have to be consistent. You have to show up, and sometimes going there, I can't lie, it's a struggle. But I'm like, okay, they're gonna be there. Someone else is gonna be there to kind of,
Yeah.
when I walk into the gym, it just you get energy.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming in at the end of the class or beginning of the class, and there are other people there too, and just seeing that they show up, they work out, they're the same people there every day putting forth the effort. And I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So are you guys doing the same, like, are you guys doing the same program now? Or
No,
is
we're
it,
not.
No.
it's still,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm over her shoulder now a
Okay.
lot. So I'm doing most of the program.
I'm saying like from like a Metcon basis, are you guys like doing any of that? Okay.
I'm over her shoulder now. So a lot
Okay.
I'm writing up all of her programming, and we're dialing in muscle ups, we're dialing in some position work in terms of some imbalances that I've thought I've seen through the past. So we're working on a lot of those things. And then so yeah, I'm just over her shoulder now. Just go faster here, slow down here, do this,
Yeah.
do that.
It's good. I mean, I do miss working out with people. So
Of
maybe
course.
as we get closer to, but like
Yeah,
you
I'm
said,
sure you will.
normally like in a workout, what you're doing is it's nice because like if you're doing burpees, I always say like, I think I'm doing burpees good, and then all of a sudden he starts his burpees and he's like twice as fast. I'm like, okay, I got to keep up with him. So that's nice. That's that was extra push. So, but that's not what I need my total workout on.
Yeah.
My workout right now. So we're working on other stuff, and then
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be able to.
I'm gonna do it
Out
again.
there. So yeah,
Cool.
feel good about it.
So now that you're kind of progressing and you've come past the games, right? You have that experience under your belt, but you were once the person trying to build to that point. So if you had to give a piece of advice to a master's athlete who is in your situation looking to get into where you're at now, What piece of advice would you give to them?
Just be consistent. I
Mhm.
mean, and everything, not only working out at the gym. I mean, you have to dial in your nutrition.
Mm.
You have to dial in your recovery.
That's the biggest.
The bit,
Yeah.
recovery is a lot, and I think you guys mentioned that in your other masters podcast.
Yeah.
Is
That's the biggest thing I struggle with,
when I know
yeah.
I got to start workout at 1:30, I'm there at 12:30 starting to warm up,
Warm
and
up.
because it takes me an hour to really get going, and then same, afterwards you need to do that recovery.
Do the accessory work.
Yeah.
She's doing that. She's done that well. And then
Mhm.
throughout the whole games training,
And we were doing
out
ice
there,
baths and stuff like that. So yeah.
we got a recovery place that's in a plaza.
It just open. Did it open yet?
He's open. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. And we're trying to work up something out to get a good partnership, and that'd be a great addition for
Yeah.
not
So
only just the members at our gym, but also our
but you got to be consistent. And I'm lucky enough right now that I am retired, so I have
You
the
can donate the
time.
time,
yeah.
I have the time to spend the 3-4 hours in the gym, most of it being just stretching and warming up.
Sure.
So, so that's hard. I mean, so if you're a master's and you want to go, you have to just be consistent and be dedicated. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of. It does take time and effort. It's kind of like when you're training for a marathon, you got to spend 7 hours out on the road pounding the
Yeah.
pavement.
Yeah.
It takes
Of
time.
course.
So
Yeah, years and years of build. That's great. I'm glad. I've learned a lot of stuff about you. Actually, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that you've been doing this long.
yeah. And it's a lot. This year was tough, and one of the things I had to talk about, do I really want to do this again? And I'll continue to train and I'll do it, but like this, because the games were in September. Not that it ruined the whole summer, but it's like I
Oh,
gotta,
it
I gotta
is.
train.
Yeah,
She loves it so much.
It's like I can't go travel. I can't do this. My husband went to Japan like 3 times. I didn't go with him because I gotta stay and train. I gotta train, and
Yeah.
so I mean it's
And then you spend a lot of time in Wisconsin too. In the
Yeah,
summer. It's
normally
like-
in this
that's
summer.
like a good break because
Yeah.
you're outdoors most of the time.
Yep.
I see you
Yeah.
working out outside most of the
Yeah.
time.
Whereas this summer, then I didn't. I was only up there for like a month versus.
Who needs a summer and a half?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Games are
I'm
forever.
looking forward to when the dates coming out because
And then
I think they said they're going to push it a little bit,
I'm hoping they'll
make it
maybe-
even, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Who knows?
hopefully earlier in the
Who the hell
summer.
knows with her?
I mean that was just a long.
Now it's a
Anyway.
lot. So, Quan,
But-
this is a question for you. I had from you being a high level athlete, games athlete, making semifinals and regionals for years. We talked about being a high level athlete
Yeah.
for over 10 years. What do you find the most rewarding for you bringing someone back to the games and you being in the back seat?
This shift here my next couple of years is going to be very interesting overall because
You come into old division with me, my man.
Yeah.
it's gonna feel good. It's gonna feel good now to where all the knowledge and stuff that I've learned throughout the years, I'll be able to pour that back into somebody else.
yeah.
And it gets to a point to where it's not all about me anymore. It's about who I'll be helping out at that time.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's gonna probably be more rewarding than anything. Just being able to, like you said, sit in the back seat and just watch the person drive while you help prepare them for that moment or help build the car, if you want to say
Yeah.
it in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's gonna be like probably the most rewarding. And
Yeah.
and that's pretty much how life is. You do your thing for so long. You learn as
It's
much
like
as
if
you
you're a
possibly
football
can.
coach, you're
Yeah,
like anything
football
else,
coach. And all you do is just pour it back into the athletes, and you just sit in the back and almost smile and just
Yeah.
allow them to do what
I
they
think
can.
that's
So
why.
sharing that knowledge and just be
It's-
able to,
It is the knowledge,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
And then having, like you said, know me, it's like, okay, when you go to you have 30 toes to bar, how should I break it up? Well, in
He
the
knows what that feels like.
Right.
He knows you as an athlete, so it's
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
easy for him to do. That's basically what I was going to say next
Yeah.
was it's really easy for someone. Well, one, what I always say, what's so great about Marquan as a general manager and as, one of our best programmers in the Station Athletics
Yeah.
brand is he knows how to break things down at every single level. And to watch people progress, even like how many people you see like snatch a barbell and now they're snatching 135, 155,
Right.
things that they thought were never possible. So then for him, his passion has always been high level competitive space. So this is like a nice entryway in to be able to say like Marquan's really capable at coaching this.
Yeah.
yeah, for the most part. But I can't take credit for Julie. Julie's already had that mentality, and
Uh-huh.
she's already put the work in for years. It's just now I'm just going to try to help her fine tune some things, and like I said, it's not about
Do it
me, It's
again.
all about her. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get her back to the game. So
You see at the Fittest of the Coast then.
I know. I hope I'll be there as long as my old wrists hold up.
I hope we're hoping to send like a
We have-
small army out.
That
to
would be
the
good.
coast.
Ray's doing really well. I think he might have won the last 2 workouts.
Rich is doing well too.
No,
There's
Rich-
only been one release. One.
All right, we can cut that.
Yeah,
one.
cut it. Yeah, but we got a few people doing it, so there'll probably be like 5 or 6 of us there.
Cool.
Yeah,
This is my
that's good.
This is my master's comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
For the
I'm
19th
trying to
time.
get him to
Yeah, we'll come down.
Nah, I'm definitely coming down. But
It was fun.
that's home for me. It's Charleston.
It is true.
It's
Close,
close.
right?
It's close. I mean, it's probably 3 hours away from home.
Yeah.
In South Carolina. So
Yeah.
But yeah, all
I'll
right. So
definitely be there.
we'll see Julie at the Fitness of the Coast.
Yep.
Little preseason.
Yeah, why not?
See where we
Listen,
are.
guys, thanks for coming out today. I know it was early, as Marquan pointed out,
It's all good.
but
Sleepy Jones.
yeah,
Yeah.
but hey, appreciate you taking the time. It was awesome to get to talk to you, kind of go over your experience. Guys, as
Yeah,
always, like and subscribe to us on YouTube, Instagram, as well as give us a 5-star rating on our podcast platforms, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.